Hello, this is Kaya with Pantry Paratus. I am in my favorite reading chair again, this time on a lazy Sunday afternoon, and I'd like to talk to you about some books that we at Pantry Paratus call self-sufficiency primers. We use that term because we believe that if you would like to become more self-sufficient, these books are a must-have. Some of them really overlap, some are extremely different than the others, and we love each of these books for different reasons. So I'd like to compare and contrast these with you so that you can decide perhaps which ones would be a best fit for your personal library. Hold on, let me grab them. Okay, we have some that I've previously discussed. I did a video review of canning books. So it would be a good idea maybe if you are interested in canning and preserving your food specifically and you're looking for books on that subject, to go check out that video. I have 4 books specifically that I'd like to talk about today, just 4. These books are so special that we call them self-sufficiency primers. We believe that if you'd like to become self-sufficient, these are not only a jumping off point, books that you will reference throughout your entire self-sufficiency journey. They are great sit down, lay on the couch reading books, but then once you've done that, it is a reference book on your shelf that you will pull down whenever either homesteading or preparedness concern or question comes up in your mind. So these are ones that you will hold on to and not let anyone borrow. So in fact, these make great gifts. The first book I'd like to cover is completely different than the other 3 that I'd like to discuss. We love, just in case, how to be self-sufficient when the unexpected happens. This book does not take a end-of-the-world scenario as a premise by any means. You know, in America, we've experienced a lot of heartache, whether it has been the explosion of a plant or a terrorist attack or a hurricane or a flood or a tornado season, etc. There has just been so much. I think that as a nation, we have come to a place where we understand that having food in the pantry for yourself and for neighbors in the case of a crisis is just smart. It doesn't make you a radical. It doesn't mean that you're off in left field. It means that you like eating and you want to make sure that there's something you can eat in the event of a natural disaster. I think that this book is completely set apart from the other homesteading books we have for a lot of reasons. I would say that it's for a beginning to intermediate homesteader. It covers food production, preparation, and preservation. Although the preservation section, to my standards, is not extremely thorough. Please check out our video with some of our canning and food preservation books if you're looking for those subjects specifically, although they are covered in basics here. This book, however, is a wonderful guide for food production. In fact, the premise of the book is to produce all of the food you need on just 1/4 acre, which almost sounds crazy, but she uses the permacultural idea of stacking functions, although I don't think she really uses that terminology. But what that is basically in the world of gardening and food production is when you learn to use the same piece of land for multiple food production purposes. The book covers things like year-round gardening, vertical gardening, making the best use of your space. She covers fruits and nuts and vegetable gardening and perennial food sources. She covers meats, everything from poultry to goats and sheep and rabbits and honeybees and cows. And believe it or not, she says that you indeed could have a cow on a small piece of land like that, which was new to me when I read this book. I always thought you had to have more land. If it's done right and properly, it is a possibility. So I think what this book does is it makes homesteading a realistic goal for somebody who may live in a more suburban area than way out in the country or the boondocks. I think that she shows you that there's a lot that can be done on the space that you have and that you can utilize the space you have to its fullest. Even if maybe one day your dream is more land, there's a lot you can do on the land that you have. Oh, and one other thing about this book that I personally love more than any of the other homesteading books we have is the artwork in here is not just for your enjoyment. They're very detailed drawings, which helped me, when we first got ducks, help me determined the ducks came fairly unidentified to us, and I wasn't sure what breed they were, but the drawings of the ducks told me exactly what the breed was that I own. And it's like that on everything, whether it's cows or goats or plants in the herb section. In fact, I'd like to just show you what I'm discussing when I talk about the artwork. It is all line drawing, but because of the line drawing and the monochromatic color, it makes it easier to identify the plants and the animals. The last two books I want to cover are, you have to own one of these. You really do. And whether or not you decide to own both of them may be personal preference. I cross-reference and I prefer each one in its own way for its own thing. So let me explain what they are. I have Stories, Basic Country Skills, and it's a practical guide to self-reliance. This is the Encyclopedia of Country Living by Carla Emery, and this is the 10th edition. Carla Emery is no longer with us. This was the last edition to come out prior to her death. Both of these books cover everything. I think you can see that from just by weight. They're hard, you can get your exercise. Everything from milking a cow to driving a tractor to homemade candle making, butter, cheese, building a house, cleaning a chimney, first aid for snakes and spider bites, cutting down a tree, building a mud oven. It almost doesn't matter which one you pick up. You're going to get country living or self-reliance skills from either book. If I had to really contrast them, which is tough for me to do because I have a sentimental attachment to both books, I'll do my best. Okay, I enjoyed reading this one cover to cover. It was a wonderful thing. We knew we were moving to the country, but we had yet to make the move. And by getting this book ahead of time and reading through it, I felt like I was really able to save myself some heartache or frustration by learning which skills I wanted to initially try, and also by learning which ones I did not. There were some things that she described in here that just didn't interest me. And so we were able to immediately hit the ground running by having read this book cover to cover ahead of time. I love that. Carla Emery also weaved a personal narrative into the book, which made it an enjoyable read. Some of her philosophical views are in there, or her perspective on things, which gives it a really human feel. So you may very well enjoy that aspect. For those who are just looking more for a technical manual how-to, and so that's a personality difference, you would most prefer the Stories, Basic Country Skills. Both of these are categorized easily and accessibly with the color coding. That, I think, makes it really nice to reference either one as a reference guide. Although I would have to say in general, I think it's easier to find what I'm looking for in Stories, Basic Country Skills. I do find that each one covers different subjects more thoroughly than the other, and it's a toss-up. I would also say the one other difference that I do prefer is that Stories, Basic Country Skills does a wonderful job on the line drawing artwork, very similar to what I told you about the Backyard Homestead. By having very clear and detailed artwork, it's not just for beauty, but they will, especially when it comes to animals and animal breeds, it really lays out the identification information, and herbs and plants as well, so that you know which type of strawberry you're growing or which kind of duck you have in your yard. So this, I think, for the artwork identification purposes, is the better book. But for a cover-to-cover read that gives you the heart and soul of country living, this is a better book. So I don't know, you're going to have to make up your own mind on that one. As a recap, you have Stories, Basic Country Skills, and the Encyclopedia of Country Living. I think everybody should own one of these, if not both. If you are new to intermediate homesteader, you will gain a world of knowledge from the Backyard Homestead, especially if you have a small space. And if you have a small space, I'd say this is a must-have as well, because she will help you maximize the space that you have for food production. If you're considering the prudence of being prepared in all situations, the efficacy of it, or the purpose of it, this would definitely be the one for you, just in case. How to be self-sufficient when the unexpected happens. Not a homesteading book, but a book that will work you through step by step how-to of basic preparedness so that you're ready for whatever curveball life might throw at you. These are what we consider our self-sufficiency primers at Pantry Apparatus.